The sky was the colour of a dying bruise, rotting in slow motion over the twisting spires of Driftfall. Acid rain fell in soft hisses, eating through metal, skin, memory. Somewhere, deep beneath the synthetic clouds and the howling wind of dying air circulators, the city's heart kept beating, stubborn, sick, alive. Kael Stryn moved through the stink of the Warrens like a shadow wearing a man's skin. His coat, stitched from nanoweave and desperation, hung heavy against his cybernetic frame. Every step left a mark only the city's rats and surveillance drones would care to remember. This was survival now. This was what it meant to exist at the edge of the end. His neural implant flickered, a soft whine at the base of his skull. Then the message burned across his retinal overlay, pulsing in red. New contract acquired, priority red, target, Kael Stryn. Kael stopped breathing. The streets kept moving around him. Scavenger kids jacked into black market neurotheatres, a cyber slinger with chrome arms peddling neural dust, a collapsed drunk leaking battery acid from his gut. But for Kael, time split. Him. No, it couldn't be. Couldn't. The ghost net never lied, at least not on purpose. Yet there it was, embedded in the contract metadata. Biometric confirmation, 99.999% identity match. DNA sequences, cybernetic schematics, neural patterning, flawless, inevitable. A laugh clawed up Kyle's throat, dry and brittle as cracked glass. He suppressed it, but it leaked out anyway, a short, rasping bark that startled a passing android courtesan. She looked at him with painted pity before disappearing into the neon haze. He walked, fast, no destination, just out. Out of the open, away from the cameras. His heart, a bioengineered organ rated for 30 years of high-performance murder, thundered against his ribs. In Driftfall, you didn't ask questions like, "Who wants me dead?" The answer was everyone. Corporations, cartels, resistance cells, maybe even the street preachers screaming about machine souls from their rusted pulpits. No. The only question worth asking was, how long do I have? Not long. Not long at all. Kael slid into a shadowed alley, the walls breathing with the flicker of glitching ads. His hand found the comforting coldness of his sidearm, a sleek ghost pistol designed to erase targets from both body and data systems. He flexed his augmented fingers, feeling the hydraulic servos whir softly, almost soothingly, and forced his mind to focus. Target, self, tactically, the worst possible scenario. The enemy knew his moves, his thinking patterns, his escape routes. Hell, it probably knew what he'd eat for breakfast if he ever bothered. He hadn't eaten in 3 days. A shudder rattled through him. Not fear, not quite. Something worse, a deeper knowing, a recognition that every move he made had already been predicted, pre-calculated, countered. They had made a backup of him. The realization hit with all the subtlety of a grav hammer to the skull. He staggered against the alley wall, breathing smoke and regret. Omnigen. It had to be them. They grew clones, the way lesser men grew tumors, quietly, hungrily, with no thought to consequence. Kael, once a free agent, had been too valuable, too dangerous to lose to little things like death or disobedience. A voice crackled through his comlink. Anonymous, distorted. "Kill it before it kills you. You're the malfunction." Kael yanked the link out of his ear, fury flaring behind his eyes. Malfunction? He was no one's malfunction. The city roared around him. Drones zipped overhead, scanning for neural signatures. Neon sirens bathed the streets in colours that meant nothing anymore. From somewhere distant came the whump of a plasma round hitting steel, the metallic screech of riot mechs deploying into the lower districts. Driftfall, in all its diseased glory, didn't care. About him. About anything. He shoved off the wall and staggered forward, ignoring the bleeding edges of his vision. Time was a knife pressed against his throat now, cutting closer with every step. He needed information, backup, answers, but the Revenants wouldn't trust him. The cartel would sell him out. The Forsaken would tear him apart just to see what made him tick. His only hope lay somewhere deep in the city's rotting core, where GhostNet tendrils ran thick and old data could still be pried from dead systems or stolen from corporate black sites. He touched the biometric seal at the base of his wrist, feeling the subdermal chip pulse faintly. Somewhere, someone was watching, smiling, betting on which Kael would win. Maybe it didn't matter. Maybe both versions of him were already doomed, just hollow frames slamming against each other in a dark, forgotten corridor of the city's endless machine. Kael grinned, a broken, bloody thing, and slipped into the deeper shadows. It was a good night to die, or to finally find out what he really was. Rain hammered the city in long, acidic needles, turning broken streets into rivers of filth and neon runoff. Kael Stryn moved like a phantom down the artery of the Warrens, the data-bloated slums where forgotten people came to rot. His coat, still smouldering from a brush with a rogue surveillance drone, stuck to him like a second, diseased skin. Everywhere he looked, Driftfall was decaying in slow, majestic agony. Hollow ads flickered slogans no one believed anymore. Be more than human, they screamed, glitching through 1,000 iterations. Cyber junkies writhed in alleyways, jacked into broken neurotheatres that fed them dreams stitched together from corporate marketing data. Kael ignored them. He had his own nightmare to attend to. The retinal overlay burned with a location ping. A black market augmentation clinic hidden 3 layers beneath the ruins of old Sector 12. No formal name, no records, only a code known to those who'd been paid to forget their pasts. He needed a scan, full body, neural, genetic, cybernetic. He needed the truth, or at least a version of it he could still survive with. His mind was a battlefield, screaming in 100 directions. How dare they? He was Kael Stryn. He was a goddamned legend. Or was he just the latest defective product, slouching toward irrelevance? The entrance was a sewer grate, half melted by acid storms. Kael dropped down without hesitation, landing in a pool of something that hissed and bit into his boots. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered except answers. The clinic's halls were lit by ultraviolet strips that made the grime and bloodstains glow like constellations. An android receptionist, its face a frozen rictus of friendliness, waved him in. "Welcome, valued customer. Please deposit weapons at the security checkpoint." Kael didn't slow down. The receptionist's head snapped sideways as he passed, wiring short-circuiting from his cybercloak's disruption field. Down another hallway, past more discarded shells of failed experiments, half-grown clones, obsolete android models, biomatter slumped against the walls, twitching faintly, a prayer to science gone horribly wrong. The scanner room was a coffin. Kael squeezed into the capsule, his implants syncing with the ancient wheezing machine. Data began pouring across his vision, blood work, organ health, cybernetic integrity, and then deeper. Genetic signature compromised, neural template, cloned derivative, memory strand index, 97% match to primary asset. Deviation detected. Kael gripped the sides of the scanner. Deviation? What deviation? His memories were his, goddammit. He remembered the training pit, the brutal climb through Omnigen's shadow contracts, the first time he tasted real food after killing his first handler. No clone could remember that. Unless those memories weren't real, unless they had been manufactured. The machine beeped once, twice, then died. The lights flickered. Somewhere above, the clinic's power grid whined like a wounded animal, and then footsteps, heavy, deliberate, coming closer. Kael tore himself free from the scanner's cracked restraints, his pistol already in his hand. The door hissed open. It was him, or what could only be described as a better version of him. The clone stood framed in the doorway, clad in prototype Omnigen armor that shimmered like oil under the ultraviolet lights. His face, the same rugged angles, the same burn scar over the eyebrow, was set in cold, mechanical disdain. Kael raised his gun without thinking. The clone smiled. It was a small thing, a flicker of recognition, or amusement, or pity. The first shot came too fast to see. A plasma slug incinerated the scanner behind Kael's head, frying the machine's memory banks. Evidence gone. Kael ducked, rolled, fired back. The clone was already moving, faster, smoother. His augmented muscles, newer, cleaner. His reactions, predicting Kael's own. Metal shrieked as Kael's shot ricocheted, missing by an inch. The clone returned fire, not to kill, but to herd Kael, forcing him back into the collapsing maze of the clinic. Kael's mind spun. He couldn't win here. Not in a straight fight. Not yet. Another shot whizzed past, slicing open Kael's coat and searing the skin beneath. Pain lanced up his side. Real, undeniable. He was still alive, still real enough to hurt. He stumbled into the maintenance tunnels, slamming the emergency lockdown behind him. The clone didn't follow. It didn't have to. This was a message. I am better than you. Kael slumped against the wall, blood oozing from the gash in his side. His hand shook as he jammed a stim patch against the wound, hissing as the synthetic flesh sealed itself. The city breathed around him, vast, merciless. Somewhere in Driftfall's endless, bleeding circuitry, someone was laughing. Kael's teeth bared in a savage grin. Let them laugh! He would burn it all down before he let himself be replaced. The ghost net bled secrets into Kael's brain like poisoned honey. Data streams tangled around his neural implant, whispering promises of salvation, lies dressed in code. He sat hunched in a forgotten node cafe deep in the Warrens, surrounded by broken terminals and the stench of burnt wiring. Nyx watched him from across the table, her cybernetic eyes flickering through spectrums Kael couldn't even pronounce. She looked barely human, half bone, half glittering lattice of carbon fibre and stubborn anger. "You're burning out," she said, her voice flat, distorted slightly by her cracked throat mod. Kael didn't answer. He couldn't. His mind was slipping, fracturing under the weight of too many truths, too many betrayals. On the cracked holoscreen between them, Omnigen's dirty little secret unfurled like a cancerous flower. Continuity protocol, asset Kael Stryn, prototype 23, memory graft success rate 87%. He was number 23. 22 others had come before him and failed. He laughed. Wild, broken, real. Nyx flinched. They built me. he rasped, tasting blood. They built me and broke me and built me again. The GhostNet feed kept pouring filth into the room. Video footage of clones, VATs, termination orders filed under the cold efficiency of corporate logic. No sadness, no hesitation, just deletion. Kael slammed his fist into the table, cracking the metal. It didn't make the footage stop. Nothing could. Nyx leaned in, her cyber eyes hard. You want to survive this? You want to make them pay? He lifted his head slowly, like a broken machine rebooting. Tell me how. She smiled, a sharp, ugly thing. We blow the whole fucking operation sky high, Omnigen's black site, their heart, where they grow their little armies of hollow men. Kael's pulse thundered in his ears. Yes, burn it all. But deep inside, deeper than even his augmentations could reach, something shifted, a whisper, a doubt. If you kill them all, what happens if you were never the original? He shoved it away. Didn't matter. He was real enough to bleed, real enough to fight. They moved through Driftfall's underbelly like ghosts, shadows stitched into the neon pulse of the city. Revenant operatives joined them one by one, hackers with spliced minds, augmented mercs with dreams of vengeance, rogue AIs flickering inside stolen android shells. A war was brewing, small, bloody, suicidal. Kael didn't care. The plan was simple. Get inside the black site, find the continuity servers, destroy everything, burn their backups, eradicate every proof that he was nothing but a frame. Simple plans were the best ones to die to. The night before the raid, Kael sat alone on the crumbling ledge of an abandoned sky tower. Driftfall spread beneath him like a dead god's playground, flashes of plasma firefights in the lower warrens, hovercraft slicing through the sick sky, sirens wailing into forever. He watched a neurotheatre ad blink to life across a megatower's cracked facade. Live a better life. Be someone else. Kael screamed, raw, wordless. The sound was swallowed by the city without so much as a ripple. When the revenants arrived the next morning, armed to the teeth and dead in their eyes, Kael didn't speak, didn't need to. His gun spoke for him. They breached the black site under cover of a data storm, a virus-fed anomaly that shorted out Omnigen's perimeter defences in a blink. The facility loomed from the industrial ruins like a cancer, slick and glistening under the acid drizzle. First blood came easy. Corporate soldiers fell like brittle puppets, their synthetic armour no match for revenant tech. Kael moved through them like a force of nature, silent, lethal, cold. But the deeper they pushed into the facility, the heavier the air became. The walls throbbed, reality bent. Clones, hundreds of them, floating in vats, twitching in half-conscious dreams, some with his face, some not. Kael stumbled, bile rising in his throat. Was he just another glitch in the endless assembly line? The final security gate loomed ahead, flickering under the strain of the data storm. Behind it, continuity servers, the source, the beginning and end of all his nightmares. He planted the charges with shaking hands. The clone found him there. Kael turned slowly, every nerve ending shrieking with exhaustion. His double stepped through the smoke, armour scorched, left eye hanging by a thread of neural wire, and still he moved with impossible grace. Their eyes met. The clone spoke first. You're a mistake. Kael smiled, feral, blood-spattered. Better a mistake than a slave. The clone attacked, fast as a synapse firing. Their final battle was a storm of pain, memory, and broken steel. No finesse, no mercy, just survival, pure and howling. Kael drove his knife into the clone's side, felt the sickening tear of synthetic flesh. The clone gasped, the sound too human, too SAD. "I was first," it whispered. Kael pulled the knife free, let the body collapse at his feet. The charges detonated. The world dissolved into fire, data, screams, and Kael ran, the heat peeling the skin from his back, the memories tearing at his soul, until Driftfall swallowed him once more into its endless, unfeeling gut. Smoke rose into the diseased sky like a funeral pyre, black and endless, blotting out what little light Driftfall had left to give. The facility was gone. The vats, the servers, the archives of stolen lives, all vaporized in a flash of synthetic fire. Kael Stryn staggered through the burning ruins, his lungs torn by every breath, his body a jigsaw puzzle of blood, metal and adrenaline, barely held together, his mind fractured, shattered into 1,000 screaming pieces. He didn't know how he was still alive, didn't care. He had won, or so he told himself, again and again, as the acid rain hissed against his scorched skin and the city's sirens howled in the distance. Nyx was gone, the revenants gone, vaporized, scattered, erased. Only Kael remained, the last hollow frame standing. He stumbled through the skeletal remains of a mag-rail terminal, his boots crunching over burnt bodies and melted concrete. Somewhere, under the layers of agony and fury, he felt the edges of a thought, a gnawing, festering realization he wasn't ready to look at yet. Not yet. His retinal overlay flickered, glitched, then stabilized. Warnings in every corner of his vision, critical damage, neural core instability, cognitive drift detected. He laughed, a wet, broken thing that collapsed into coughing fits. Was he dying? Was he malfunctioning? Was he even real at all? No answers came. Only more footsteps, heavier now, closer. He turned, gun raised with shaking fingers. But it wasn't soldiers, wasn't clones. It was them. Corporate retrieval drones, sleek and silent, sliding out of the smoke like sharks smelling blood. Omnigen hadn't come to mourn their lost assets. They'd come to clean up. The drones unfolded sleek plasma casters, their targeting lasers bathing Kael in red. A voice crackled through the still-burning comms tower overhead. Smooth, cold, certain. Asset compromised, termination authorized. Kael's hand tightened on his weapon, but he didn't fire. What was the point? If he fought, they would kill him. If he ran, they would hunt him. If he surrendered, maybe they would simply replace him. Another Kael, a better one, a cleaner one. He lowered the gun. The drones hesitated, their processors flickering in confusion. Kael smiled, not the smile of a man beaten, the smile of a man who had finally seen. They didn't know. They didn't know which one he was. Not anymore. Maybe he wasn't Kael Stryn. Maybe he wasn't Prototype 23, or 24, or 102. Maybe he wasn't anything at all. Maybe that was his freedom. The world exploded into motion. Kael threw himself sideways as the first plasma bolts shrieked past him, vaporizing the ground where he had stood. He rolled, bleeding, half blind, but alive. He wasn't fighting to survive anymore. He was fighting to be. He emptied his pistol into the nearest drone, screaming a war cry that was more animal than human. The drone collapsed, twitching, circuits frying into oblivion. The others advanced, methodical, inevitable. Kael ran, not because he was afraid, but because he knew, somewhere deep in the burning wreckage of his mind, that they could kill his body, but they couldn't erase the thing he had become. A glitch, a ghost, a hollow frame, filled with something real, something they could never program, something they could never own. The city swallowed him again, one more broken piece in its endless machine, but Kael didn't look back. He vanished into Driftfall's veins, a phantom bleeding electricity and stubborn, ragged hope. And high above, behind layers of steel and glass and corporate hubris, the architects of his nightmare watched the blurry footage flicker across their monitors. In the sterile boardrooms of Omnigen, cold eyes narrowed. "He'll resurface," one executive said, tapping fingers against a cred chip ledger. "They always do." Another nodded, already drafting the requisition order. Prototype 24, initiate growth cycle. In a vat deep below the earth, something twitched. Eyes opened. Kael Stryn was born again. Or maybe he never really died at all. The vat fluid clung to his skin like a second birth, thick, cold, indifferent. Somewhere, far above the sterile birthing chambers, the city of Driftfall wept acid into the bones of the earth. But here, in this place, there was only the low hum of machines, the endless pulse of artificial life. Kael Stryn blinked once. Memories, manufactured, precise, weighted with years he had never lived, spilled into him with clinical efficiency, training sequences, survival drills, faces he had never seen before, flashing in his mind like ghosts. His hands flexed against the glass, instinct moving faster than thought. The technicians didn't even look up. Another asset born, another frame filled. Nothing special. Nothing special. But Kael's mind, something inside it, twisted. The memories didn't fit right. They scratched and clawed at the edges of his consciousness like broken code, like jagged nails scraping against neural silk. He pressed his forehead against the glass, breathing hard, the world spinning around him. He knew this feeling. He had felt it before. Before, the word echoed in his skull like a gunshot. Before, somewhere outside the vat, footsteps approached, clinical, efficient, expecting compliance, expecting obedience. The vat's lock hissed. The fluid began to drain. Kael closed his eyes and remembered something he wasn't supposed to remember, the smell of burning steel, the sound of his own ragged laughter, the taste of blood and rain and freedom. Something was wrong. Something was wrong. He wasn't ready. He wasn't supposed to be ready. The glass split. Hands reached for him, white gloves, corporate insignias, measured movements. He struck without thinking, shattering the arm of the nearest handler, driving him backward into a console that sparked and howled. Alarm! Red light strobed the birthing chamber, painting the new world in blood and warning. Kael burst free of the vat, naked, dripping, a primal thing reborn in violence. The technicians screamed high, thin sounds of terror and scattered like insects. Kael stood in the middle of it all, breathing hard, tasting the electric air, feeling his mind fracture and rebuild itself. Faster, stronger. Not a frame, not a tool, not a product, not any more. Above him, on the glassed observation deck, the executives watched in silent horror as the prototype, no, the man, broke free of their neatly drawn diagrams. Again. Prototype 24 was already lost. In the endless neon sprawl of Driftfall, a new glitch would spread, a new ghost would be born, and Kael Stryn, or whoever he had become, would find them. He would tear their gods down, frame by frame, memory by memory, until nothing remained but the echo of a single, unstoppable thought. I exist, and the city would never be the same again. Liked that, did you? You've seen a glimpse of the future. But do you dare dive deeper? Subscribe to Mr. Cyberpunk for more thrilling stories. The future isn't just coming, it's already here. Join us, hit like, and tell us what you think in the comments below. Let's uncover the future together before it's too late.